Okay, let's jump right in. If you're gearing up for your GCSE religious studies exams, well, you have literally just struck gold. Think of this explainer as your ultimate streamlined revision guide. Today, we're zeroing in on the absolute central hub of Jewish life, the synagogue. Honestly, it's pretty much impossible to really grasp Judaism without understanding the multi-layered role of this building. So, grab a notebook, get comfortable, and let's lock in those top grades.
Right off the bat, let's secure some of those easy marks. Examiners absolutely love it when you drop in precise terminology. In Hebrew, the overarching term for the synagogue is Bat HaKnesset, which literally translates to house of assembly. I really want you to anchor that translation in your mind, house of assembly, because it perfectly hints at the fact that this place is so much more than just a spot to pray. It's where the community literally assembles for, well, almost every single aspect of their lives.
To keep our revisions super structured today, we're going to split the synagogue's purpose into three main pillars. First up is Beit Tefillah, the house of prayer. Second, Beit Midrash, the house of study. Third is the community social hall. And finally, we'll wrap it all up with the synagogue roles revision table to make sure it all sticks. All right, let's move right into pillar number 1, Beit Tefillah, the house of prayer.
So here is your next key term, Beit Tefillah, meaning house of prayer. Now, a really important distinction to make for your exam is that Jews can actually pray anywhere. God is omnipresent, right? So prayer isn't restricted to one specific building. But the Beit Tefillah is the dedicated space where Jews come together specifically for community prayer services. It basically transforms a solo spiritual experience into a really powerful collective one.
Okay, let's dive into why community prayer is actually a structural requirement in Judaism. You see, there are certain highly significant prayers, like the public reading of the Torah or the Kaddish, which is the mourner's prayer, that simply cannot be said alone. They require the presence of a minyan, which is a quorum of 10 adults. Think of it kind of like a multiplayer gaming lobby. You can run around the practice map all you want on your own, but to start the official ranked match, the server requires a minimum number of players to actually be there. The minyan is that minimum requirement, making the synagogue absolutely essential for completing these core spiritual duties. Shifting gears now to our intellectual pillar, we arrive at section 2, Beit Midrash, the house of study. Have your pens ready because here's another fantastic term to drop into those exam answers. A lot of Jews actually refer to their synagogue as shul, and shul is derived from the Yiddish word for school. Just think about how profound that actually is. The nickname for their place of worship literally translates to school. I mean, that tells you pretty much everything you need to know about how highly Judaism values education and the continuous, ongoing study of their faith. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how Judaism frames that learning. The proper Hebrew term for this function is Beit Midrash, or house of study. For observant Jews, studying sacred text isn't just something you finish when you graduate high school. It is a lifelong task. It's not just a classroom for kids. Actually, think of the Beit Midrash as an open-source university or maybe a lifelong brain gym membership. You go there to constantly exercise your mind, debate ethics, unpack the law, and connect with your heritage, literally no matter how old you are. And to facilitate all this brain gym activity, the Beit Midrash has a few specific features. It's always going to have a really well-stocked library filled with sacred Jewish texts for any member of the community to just access and study. But it's highly practical, too. This is exactly where children receive their basic religious education, really learning the foundations of their faith. And most crucially, this is where the rigorous prep happens for a child's bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah, ensuring that the next generation is totally ready to take on their adult responsibilities in the community. Okay, so we've covered the spiritual and the educational. Now let's check out section 3, the community social hall. And this brilliantly illustrates how ancient traditions map perfectly onto concepts we totally understand today. The synagogue often functions as a community social hall. In a very real sense, it acts as a local town hall combined with a social welfare agency. If we put that into modern internet terms, it's kind of like a highly active community subreddit combined with a mutual aid fund. It's that central hub where the community logs in, so to speak, to debate matters of importance, organize support, and just generally figure out how to take care of one another. The activities happening in the social hall are incredibly tangible. It's a space for discussing and voting on crucial community matters. It's the operational base for collecting and dispensing money, food, and items to aid the poor, which is a direct fulfillment of the Jewish principle of charity, known as tzedakah. And of course, it's the joyous gathering place where the entire community comes together to celebrate major festivals. It is, without a doubt, the beating heart of their social lives. All right, we've explored the 3 pillars, and now let's see how this builds together in Section 4 with our Synagogue Roles revision table. So the crucial point is right here on screen. I highly, highly recommend that you pause the explainer right now and take a screenshot of this table or just copy it out into your notes. This is literally your perfect condensed GCSE revision cheat sheet. You've got your 3 roles on the left: prayer, study, and community. In the middle, you have those high-mark Hebrew and Yiddish terms, Beit Tefillah and Minyan, Beit Midrash and Shul. And over on the right, you have the core importance of each function. Look, if you get an exam question asking you to explain the purpose of a synagogue, recreating this table in paragraph form will absolutely guarantee you hit every single key point the examiners are looking for.
To wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a bit of a critical thinking challenge to really test your new knowledge, because evaluating importance is a huge part of those longer essay questions in your exam. So here's the question. If a synagogue had to temporarily close one of these 3 spaces, the house of prayer, the house of study, or the social hall, which one would have the biggest impact on the community, and why? Really think about the structural requirement of the minyan versus the lifelong duty of study versus the immediate physical needs of the poor. There isn't one single right answer here, but how you argue it will show the examiner that you truly understand the source material. Thanks so much for learning with me today. Best of luck with your revision, and keep that curiosity alive.